The Minnesota Wild podcast is presented exclusively by Acrisure.
Any update? Is he good to go tomorrow, or what exactly transpired?
All signs point towards that. Just it was an illness, that kind of bothered him. But right now he's, feels better, feels good. So obviously we'll monitor that tonight and tomorrow. But all signs are pointing to no significant issues with him at all.
Did you know before the game that he was dealing with this?
Right before the game, warm-ups kind of. But then I figured after the first, the way he was playing, and then it was in between the second and third, obviously. That.
What's your reaction when all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, Flowers coming in"?
Yeah, I mean it's it's tough, right? Because you're in. I mean, obviously the game is tight. Gus was playing well. Flower had sat there for a while, and then now he's getting ready to go in. So obviously it's not an easy. It's an uneasy feeling, but to be honest, if anyone can jump in that situation and play well, it's Flower. So that does make it a little bit better.
Yeah. Can I ask you on the goal? I know that you're loath to sort of identify when guys are messing up, but on your man to man there, what is the sort out responsibilities on that goal? It felt like one person made a mistake and then another person made a mistake, and now it's just like everybody trying.
Yeah. That's the last thing why I didn't really comment on it. It wasn't necessary. I think everyone said, "Oh, John Mel." It wasn't. I mean, it was three situations where there was, a little bit of a misplay, and that's how it wound up going in the back of the net. It wasn't on, one of the three players that were down low or any of the five players on the ice. It was kind of a combination of mistakes. Now, in saying that, one of the things that we do a good job is we normally do have layers of defense. So if there is we just didn't have a layer of defense in that situation, unfortunately.
You guys have had such mental fortitude throughout this entire regular season, overcoming different obstacles. Last night, it felt kind of like a gut punch. You look like you're going to win that in regulation, and the goal gets overturned, and then to lose in overtime while still putting together a good game. Where's that mental toughness at now heading into Game 6? Is it still there, or is it got to dig a little bit deeper to really...
No, it's still there. Like, we talked to Team 2 about, we live the life of a competitor, right? And... for example, we didn't win the game last night, regardless of what the circumstances were behind it. So it's behind us. We got to get ready for the next game, right? So now it's, okay, we didn't win the game. We could have won the game. The game was 50-50 in 2 overtimes, right? But now if you're on the other side, you're like, we got to put these guys to bed. It's not like they've been easy to put to bed. So to me, the point is the life of a competitor is there's the process, there's the game, but there's always another one. Like if you win, your mind goes, well, how are we got to win the next one. If you lose, it's like, okay, we got to win the next one. Both teams are in the same situation, regardless of whether you win or lose, which also goes back to my thing is I don't believe that momentum doesn't carry game to game. Mm-hmm. Belief carries game to game. We have belief. We know we can win. We know we're playing a good series. We know we got to come out and win a hockey game tomorrow. So what's the process to do that? We've already started that from the end of last game till now. And that's really the reality. Just because they won doesn't give them momentum, right? Just because we lost doesn't mean we don't have any momentum. Doesn't mean we don't have any belief. Belief at this time of year, and I think through the year when you get that, that's the most important thing. Do you believe you can win a hockey game? Do you believe you can win a series? We certainly believe that.
We just saw that in the Dallas series. I mean, Dallas got thumped in game 4 and then goes and does that.
That's what it's. I mean, Edmonton's down 0-2. Even you look at this, it's always more emotional because it's us, right? You guys, it's your team, it's our team. We're doing it, but I just think that's why you're not too high, not too low. Like I continue to say, I think your messaging is important, and that's always, I think with the team is it's the life of a competitor is that those things go back and forth. Now, if you were getting manhandled all series and it wasn't good, I think the questions are not so much momentum, mm-hmm. it's belief. Sure. And I think when you play a certain way and you do the right things and you do that, anything can happen on any given night.
John, what are the tells for you as a coach that they still have that this hasn't, worn them down? And throughout the season, is it the same? Just the vibe on the plane today, or what are your tells?
I think I would say last night's game. Mm-hmm. Coming from behind and on the road, right? And a goal gets called back. We keep playing. Unfortunate situation happened in overtime. But, like I said, I think you go to overtime, and, it's a heavyweight fight, this series. It's not like you're hanging on for dear life. Like, they're taking it to us, we take it to them, right? Each team is playing at a high level. Both teams, I think, believe they are playing at a high level. So, to me, I think that's what I mean when you look at when you're talking about things that we can do well. When we do them well, is it effective? It certainly is. When they push back, can we respond? Yes. And when they put pressure on us, they know they're doing things well. So to me, that's where, when I say, belief in that is, I think, the vibe of your team. But it's more than the vibe of the team, the games themselves.
I know, again, again, you don't love singling out guys. But again, I was watching Jim Hiller's presser the other day, and he's like, if Q puts the puck out of the zone, we win this game. And same thing last night. If Gus, that was not your typical just offsides or Hartman's going parallel. It just seemed like a really sloppy mistake by Gus in the situation to go offside there for a veteran that you usually trust.
Yeah, I think things happen in the game. Is that a turning point? I think that's a magnified turning point in the game. But I think there's other things that happened in the game that could have helped us win the game, or could have, that's one event that happened. I think the time and the score and what happened is magnified, but I think that's, we win as a team, we lose as a team. I think guys are going to make mistakes. I think we do more positive things than negative, including him, and we got to move past it. And again, life of a competitor, it's a great opportunity, for Gus. I know him; he cares. Does he feel bad about it? He feels bad about it as much as anyone. But the beauty of the life you live is he's got an opportunity to respond tomorrow.
Will you consider any changes, I guess, lineup-wise? Or is the same evaluation, I guess? Or
yeah, you all
like about yesterday? I don't
know. I think there's a lot to like about yesterday. I haven't made any final decisions on the roster yet.
So the fourth line and third deep pair were on ice for the winning goal. They also had them together during the game too, right? During the regulation. What goes through your thought process and on putting those kind of guys together?
Well, it's matchups, right? I put the fourth line out, he puts his fourth line out. So if you're going to give your guys ice time, I think it's a pretty even match, right? So we go into overtime, it's a neutral zone face-off. Neither fourth line's played at all in the overtime. I put my fourth line out, Butchie puts his fourth line out. They split up deep pair. All night it was the matchup that was going on, and I think those guys, played fairly well for the most part, and it was an unfortunate mistake at a key time, but I think that when you look at matchups and who you want to play against who, I would think that that's who you would want to play against those guys.
Bully's been a very good player for a number of years now, but do you think a playoff performance like this could kind of move him up forward, jumpstart him even more into his career in terms of having this kind of playoff performance, playing the way he is, engaged, and going to the net in those areas, then kind of.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't even go down that far now. We got a game 6, hopefully a game 7. Let's see where he's performing in those games, and now the stakes get a little bit even higher, right? And you need your top guys to be your top guys at an elite level when you get to this stage in the series. So I'd say before we probably talk about moving on in the careers, let's try to finish this chapter right here, right where we're in right now, starting tomorrow.
Do you the way that, is that a conscious thing, the way that the guys defended in front of Fleury, or is that something that just hockey players, they realize, oh boy, we better make sure that we protect the house and don't put them in a position to make saves?
Yeah, I think it's natural. Mm-hmm. That when your goaltender goes into that type of situation, that you're a little bit more, I would say, maybe on guard and trying to help him get himself into the game and get going. And I thought the guys did a really good job.
Yeah, that to me was the biggest shame of the loss, is the way you guys played in the third period. It was clinical,
Yeah. It's but goes back to the other thing I talked about, belief. We're talking about that, right? And you're like, that's what I'm saying. It didn't happen for us, but. Anything can happen in a 60-minute game when you got two teams going head-to-head.
Can you sustain that for 60, that defensive, desperation, or was that, that's a one-off to that circumstance, or, that's a blueprint to negate them for 3 periods?
It is, but I think that the one thing I do think you have to keep in mind, too, is I think even when you look at the games, there's been pushes and surges by both teams, which I do think happens in the playoffs quite a bit. But I think when you have two teams that are playing both at a high level and consistently, I do think that there's going to be times where they're going to push, and we may make a mistake or two. That's where you need a big save, right? Same thing for them, right? Like we had a couple breakaways, we had 2-on-1. Like there's going to be mistakes in the game, and that's where you need key players or players to make plays at key times, whether that's offensively or defensively.
Can I ask you about the challenge? Was that like it felt like the one in Detroit where you guys challenged that one? I mean, like was this one where you just felt like Gus couldn't?
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit 50-50, right? Like he goes in, he's in the blue paint before, untouched. Faves doesn't really touch him. Gus comes out. To be honest, I think that there's gray areas in the calls, right? Like you could say that was goalie interference. You could easily say, well, it wasn't goalie interference, right? But I think that's, I think we discuss that and moving forward. But I do think that those calls are the hardest challenges to have because there's so much gray area and really what's the interpretation of the rule. That's the hard part. That's put on in a short amount of time to make the call. But we got through it, and but we got more awareness of it now. And I'll talk with Brad Watson, the referee, and trust me, there'll be clarification before we play the next game.
I was thinking about that with Cassidy. Like he had 3 minutes to make his decision on the offsides because of the first one.
Because of the first one, yeah, for sure. But the offsides is easier.
Yeah.
The offsides is pretty much easier. The goalie interference, it's gray. As much as you want to say it is what it is, I think when you look around a lot of the calls, it's gray.
John, you kind of touched on it, but what is the luxury of having a guy like Flower that you can throw in that situation, in that moment, with so much on the line? Well,
it's huge because he's. Personally, I don't know how he does it because he's, but you're sitting. You've seen him do it numerous times now where he can pop into a game and he's ready to go right off the bat. I think it's his competitive nature. I do think it's his experience. But the one thing I'll say, and I'll say this as we move on, and at some point if Flower's not here anymore and you go in, the way that this guy practices and keeps himself, he's ready. There's no sulking that he doesn't play. When he practices and he's ready to go, he sets himself up where if he gets called upon, that he can jump in and play right away. And thankfully, he was good for us last night.
The way he practices changes, the way you guys practice. As the way he practiced lift everybody other guys up to make your intensity even more of your practice when you had him on your team? Does that kind of raise the level of everybody else when they see him?
Yeah, I think you have certain guys on your team that are practice drivers, and I think when you have a guy of his stature and experience, that he's competitive, he's into it, he's challenging the shooters, he's got great effort. He's on early, he stays late, he does extra. That's the culture that you want, particularly from a guy of his significance. But I do think in general here, a lot of the guys that play significant minutes or are leaders of the team, they're the same way, and I think that helps drive what we do here.
For an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.